Well, you probably have seen their ads and their hits on Fox News, and they do an outstanding job. And that is the work of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. It was founded after the September 11th attacks. And just a quick story here on this before we get to our guest on this subject. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation dates back to the story of Stephen Siller, who on September 11, 2001, was leaving his overnight shift when the first tower was hit. He tries to get back into Lower Manhattan from Brooklyn, and he can't get back in because at that point the tunnels are shut down. So what does he do? He straps on 60 pounds of gear to his back and raced on foot through the tunnel to the Twin Towers, where he lost his life. This is a guy who was married, 5 kids, had it all. And instead of going to golf with his brothers that day after working the overnight shift, he runs back into Manhattan, and he loses his life on September 11, 2001. My late uncle was very good friends, happened to be very good friends with Stephen Siller, and was instrumental in helping get this organization off the ground at Tunnel to Towers Foundation. It was in his obituary, and they just do incredible work. You see Frank Siller is really the face of it. He's been on Fox News this morning, and now what they do is they help America's heroes by providing mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children. So now I'm happy to welcome on and say good morning to Kristie Kiernan Bouryal, the VP of Tunnel to Towers. She joins us on KCMO in Kansas City. Kristie, good morning. Take us through this day and what you all have going on here on the 22nd anniversary of this horrific, tragic day in America.
Good morning, Pete, and thanks for having me. And thanks for sharing Stephen's story and your relative's story as well. What started as Tunnel to Towers 5K run and walk in 2002, 1,500 people participated, and here we are 22 years later. And it is a signature event for the foundation, over 30,000 people participating every year, and it inspired more than 80 events across this country. Today, to mark the 22nd anniversary of September 11th, the foundation paid off 22 mortgages for America's heroes. 11 of those heroes were first responders who lost their lives to 9/11-related illnesses. These heroes are still suffering and still losing their lives because 9/11 continues to take lives from people who responded that day.
You know, I'm so glad you brought that up, Kristie. We think about the 3,000 lives lost. We haven't thought enough or talked enough about the hundreds who have dealt with some of the things that you are referencing right there. How prevalent is that in the people that you help at Tunnel to Towers every single day?
It's becoming more and more prevalent because I'm sad to say that every day we're losing more and more of our heroes. 125,000 first responders and survivors are enrolled in the World Trade Center Health Program, and about 80,000 of those people have one or more 9/11-related illness. And for those who don't have it, the sad reality is that at some point they probably will. And it's very unfortunate, and it's something that we in the 9/11 community take very seriously, and at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation take very seriously.
Kristie, what is something, I know we think about it here on the 22nd anniversary. We should be thinking about it far more often than many of us do. But what is something that as you go throughout the year, tomorrow hits and people are kind of, I don't want to say moving on, but they're thinking about what's next. What is something that you guys need help with as time goes on, the other 364 days of the year that doesn't get enough attention?
So I would say it's a couple of things. I would say we need the support of people across this country, like the many that already support us on a recurring basis, right? So it's the continual giving that helps to sustain all of our programs, not just for this year or today, but for all years to come, because America's heroes and the families they leave behind, or those who are catastrophically wounded, whether they be first responders or veterans, homeless veterans, these are heroes that need our help, and their families need our help. And I would say the second piece is education. we have a whole generation who knows next to nothing about 9/11, and we have to make sure future generations know about that day because we vowed to never forget. So they need to know, because that's the only way we'll be able to help people to remember for decades and centuries to come.
Kristie, I know you do have the Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute that really helps educators in teaching children about September 11th. I mean, you just noted it. There are kids, not kids, but young adults in the workforce who were not alive on September 11th, 2001. So what is this Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute, and how are you trying to implement that in schools across the country?
I'm really proud of the 9/11 Institute that we launched last year. And shortly after launching it, I can tell you that our curriculum was in use across this country in all 50 states and in Puerto Rico. We were very proud of that milestone, but even happier that we're now making sure that these heroes are not going to be forgotten. The Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute is an expanded education effort, and there are 5 components to it. The curriculum itself, which is all nonfiction, scripted. We kept in mind that there are very young teachers coming out of college that may not have been alive on this day, and teachers who told us that it's such a big day, they don't want to make a mistake. They want to make sure they get everything right. So that's partly why we took the approach that we took. Scripted curriculum, lessons for an individual. It could be somebody being homeschooled. It could be a parent just wanting their child to understand. They don't feel like enough time is spent in school. But nonfiction scripted resources, including videos, background details for the instructor, so that we can make sure that any age can pick up this curriculum and use it and feel comfortable doing it. That's the whole thought behind the design of our 9/11 curriculum. So the curriculum is one component. As I said, all nonfiction. We have our 9/11 Never Forget mobile exhibit. This is an 83-foot tractor trailer that travels all over the country and opens into an exhibit with 9/11 artifacts. And FDNY firefighters who responded on 9/11 actually give adults and children tours and explain what their experience was like on that day as people go through the exhibit. We have the Russell F. Siller Memorial Scholarships. So Russell Siller was a family member of the Sillers, the eldest brother who helped to raise Stephen Siller after both of his parents died. He's a longtime educator, and for our program recipients, we offer them the kids scholarships as they enter into college. So the scholarships are a piece of that as well. We have a speakers bureau, so people can contact the Speakers Bureau and be able to get people to come to their school, or whether it's remote or in person. These are all the things that we're doing to make sure that people never forget in this country.
Well, Kristie, you're doing incredible work at Tunnel to Towers. Kristie Kiernan Bouryal, VP of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation on KCMO. Thanks for all you do, Kristie. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me.
You as well. T2T.org. T2T.org.